your world collapse. Motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another True Solo Hand Guide by Vermintide Amplified. Today we're doing Handmaiden on Screaming Bell. All the recordings are all done on Cataclysm with a couple of deep modifiers. Now the first thing I want to do, not to sound cocky, is to show you a clip that illustrates how easy it can be even on such a high difficulty, depending on the spawns. Like, the difficult thing about doing True Solo speedruns is consistency. Can you find a method by which you can win nearly every time regardless of spawns? Because just like this run I'm gonna do now didn't require particular much skill. Like if you're a vivid solo runner, there was nothing extremely skillful or difficult about this run. It is important though, first thing, one of the things I want to tell you is here, I'll show later exactly how to do it and hit it pretty much every time. It is really important that you practice that. It's not that you can't win without it, but it just gives your positioning so much more. Like you're in a much better spot, especially if you get a monster. Check our boss. There's a spot right here that I'll show later. And obviously as soon as you hear an assassin, that's your only first, second and third priority. And this was actually a mistake I made. I should not have done that. Sure, it worked out, but I could very easily have died there, so that was 100% a mistake. I should not have gone straight for the room. I hadn't seen the bulk of storm vermins in my path. But then again, things don't always go according to plan when you do these runs. And this is where the first boss wall would be. I will show you decent spots for all potential boss spawns. Although, if you get a range boss, then there's not much to do. You just have to fight it, kite it around, use it to clear the minions. It's also really important that you practice this jump right here, because often what will happen is you'll find yourself in this the second spot before the boss wall up here. This is the area where you most often get a boss. And it's also the only of the three areas where you don't have a consistent box spot. There is stuff you can do that I'll explain later, but it's really important that you know how to move in a cycle here. This is the third area, and again here, if you want to fight stuff here, if you don't want to use some of the bugs, like just call them what you want, which I also encourage you to try, then it's really important that you know how to have a flow in your movement, move around in circles so you never get stuck. But as you can see here, besides that one assassin where I almost got stuck, so far it's pretty much been running in straight lines and dodging sideways once in a while. Nothing particularly, skillful. Do notice though how rarely I actually use my ulti. I don't try to get the fastest time, I try to get the win. And I'm a big believer that you're really only ever in danger while your ulti is on cooldown. So you only use it when you are in danger, or you absolutely have to. That way you always have it for the moment when you need it. Also, when spamming Kong pots to move forward, always make sure you have the last ulti available again. Obviously not a problem here. And make sure you always do it in this order. Like, you can play around with it, but pretty much you always start at the left. Gives you by far the best positioning. And then you move up here, which is one of the places where you want to be quick. If you're quick, then you can actually move back without having to use your ulti here. Not always. And there weren't a lot of minions in the direction I was going. Because sometimes I'll do this and I'll use my ulti to get over here, but you end up stuck in a bunch of minions on the way, then it's not worth it. You have to make sure that the position you ulti to is a position that you're capable of getting away from, or at least defending for, well, until you have your next ulti. Once you've cleared all the chains, again, pretty much just take your time. That was actually a pretty early ulti. If I were you, I would usually wait until he jumped a bit further up and aim it a bit more. I've done this hundreds of times which is why I could place it like that and still be confident getting down. But if you do it too early, what will happen sometimes, you will use your ulti to get to the door where the boss jumps up from, and his jumping up actually pushes you back, and now you have no ulti, and there might be a fuck ton of minions, and you risk dying. And although I'm about to do it, don't waste your ulti here. Do what I say, not what I do. Like there, I shouldn't have used my ulti. If I was in a pressured situation here, I would never have used my ulti there again, because you never know when an assassin is gonna pop up, and suddenly you're fucked. Now I should probably just take a second to talk about the build. When running daggers and longbow, I always use infantry and Skaven damage on the longbow, as well as headshot ammo replenish for infinite boss headshots, as well as Skaven and attack speed on the charm for special kills. Other than that, on my charm, I mostly run movement speed and stamina recovery. I do sometimes use cooldown reduction, but that's mostly for shade. The 3 talents you really want to notice are the 3 bottom ones. Those are the 3 important ones. Obviously, the gift of Latrial, which gives you invis after you use your ulti for 2 seconds. It has been nerfed by a second in Winds of Magic, but it's still by far the best talent. Then you have Bach's Stance, which is basically a 30% block cost reduction. I do sometimes use the increased ammunition. It varies from map to map and deed to deed. And then Wraithwalk. Now, Wraithwalk is broken as fuck, in my opinion. Like, there are some scenarios where I might switch and get the dodge distance, but that's like, it's really rare. Like, fuck, you can dodge through minions. Like, it's so fucking broken. It just allows you to get out of nearly every scenario. So you definitely wanna have Wraithwalk. On my necklace, I use block cost reduction and either health or push block angle. Again, that varies a bit from game to game. Do make sure you check for items right here on the left, on the bench, as well as coming up here on the left side. There's quite often a potion there, and on the left side here as well. This map is usually fairly generous with items early on. There's also, I don't know if they removed that. There used to be to spawn a potion up there once in a while. So just let me walk you through it here. The minions can't see me right now. Again, one of the best spots, you see that on the left. Like, it should just be completely subconscious that when you walk through, you see, is there a color? Yes, no. If there is, you walk down there. If there's not, you go the other direction. It's really important in this map that you early on, that you get stashed up on the stuff you need, because you don't want to have to go out of your way to get something later on. Now, usually I will only take this path on the right side if I don't have an item, health pod, potion. Also, if you get stuck here, which has happened to me before, it's good to know that you can just do like a little over here for a good escape. And there's almost always a pod here. If you don't have items by the time you get here, it is worth to check for a conch pod right here on the right side and up there. So, but one of the first things you want to practice is this jump here, because it just makes the flow through the map so much better. It gives you a better positioning. Really, the trick is first you jump right from that like crossing, like where the tiles change, and then you aim a bit to the left, so you sort of hit the left wall, and you get pushed the last bit. Yeah, let me show you again. So, and always have the momentum when you do the jump. Don't stop and then jump. At least I always fail it if I do that. So run straight and attack, and just trust that you're aiming in the correct spot. So jump first and into the wall, and the last little slide here. Now you can also, from here actually, depending on your position, you can also jump over here, which is in fact also a semi-safe glitch spot. It's not the best spot, since you're still pretty vulnerable to ranged minions. So usually it's not the one I use. But let's talk about boss walls, because no true solo guide is complete without mentioning the 3 boss walls that are on this map. Now the first is located right after the tome, the first tome. So and basically that means you are confined between the drop down the jump I showed you, told you to practice, and that boss wall. Now, as far as I know, there are 2 pretty efficient spots in that area. They don't work for Storm Fiends, but they work for all the melee bosses. And one of them is right here. Now, it is important that you're not standing on the wooden beam, but on the small stone slat. There's like a tiny jump up further, because otherwise some bosses will attack you. Now, the second spot is right after the tome. Once you climb up this ladder here, this one only works with an ability that can move through air, so like Zealot, Handmaiden, or the new Shade Talent, while the first one works for any hero. This one is particularly good for trolls, but you want to watch out for, leeches, obviously. It's very rare, I feel like, that Globadiers actually hit you up here, so they mostly can't actually target you for some reason while you're standing up here. So, but do be aware of it. Also, you don't have to be afraid of storms. They can't hit you here. But as you can see here, the troll just nicely, if you find the right spot, he will aggro up here, and you basically just headshot him to death. So, once you're finished doing that, we get to the second boss wall, and the secondary area, which is located between the wall that we're about to jump over, right there, and you have this pretty big open area, but it doesn't have an actual safe spot. There's one semi, but it's not at least as far as I know. Let me know if I'm wrong and you know some spot that I don't, but I've checked pretty thoroughly and haven't been able to find a consistent spot. But there are techniques you can use to make this area easier when you get a boss, which you do pretty often. I feel like it's the area I most often get stuck in a fight and not a speed run in, and am not having to clear. You also want to make sure this jump here, it's just like in your bones, because it's such a good jump to like aggro minions from side to side and keep your space. But one thing you can do, whoops, if you're in a pressured situation here, and you need to kill the boss, right? But there are so many minions, it might be a double HP deed, like it's gonna take you forever to kill. What do? Okay, so if you can, you find a speed or a Kong pot, preferably. It's not needed, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. Then you run all the way up here, you make sure you aggro everything, because you don't want a bunch of minions up here, so as best as you can, you get aggro on every single elite that you can find up on that path, and then you aggro them all the way to the back. And really make sure you don't run too fast away from them, because then they can't de-aggro on their own and be left in your path. So you get all the way back, give them some time to get here, activate your Kong pot, and then you should be able to de-aggro 90% of all the minions while you still have aggro on the bosses. And since you just cleared an area, you now have a space with items, without minions, where you can fight the boss. Of course, you can still get specials, you can still have a horde coming, but the majority of all the spawns and the elites are gone. So now you're gonna have a fair fight, so to speak. Now, the one spot I do want to show you, and don't worry, I just spawned a bunch of bosses for fun, is up on this wagon here. As I said, it's not the best spot, and I just fucked it up. Wait, there we go. But basically, up here, it is possible to sorta, depending on the boss. For some reason, in Chaos spawns, they always want to turn their side, so you can't headshot them. But at least it can give you some wiggle room, and depending on the boss, you can actually get it de-aggroed somehow. It's not the perfect spot, but I mean, if you just need some room to breathe, then it's worth getting some space. But as you can see, these fucking Chaos spawns, like, they'll go in and then they'll turn around and be like, "Screw you! You can't headshot me." Now, last but not least, we have the third confined area with a boss wall, which is this area right by the third tome. Now, before we get into this area, I thought I'd just show you like a different run from the start. It goes pretty quickly to the third location, but just to give you a different, another example of how it can be played. If you want to go straight to the third area, just skip to 17 minutes and 45 seconds. And that's when I get to that area. So again, notice, okay, nothing down there, so not important. I still don't have a health pot, I still don't have a bomb. So I decide to go this path, check the area here. Be very careful when you go up ladders. Sometimes it's a good idea to use your ulti first, just in case. You can see you can actually get a bit of, you know, extra distance by using that little spot on the left, although it's not necessary. And make sure you don't get hit by the freaking charging minotaurs. And again, advantageous position. Oh my god, this dodging through minions is so fucking broken. Can hit that little spot right there for a fast jump, so you don't have to take the ladder. And it can always go top here. Always, never take the bottom path. You're gonna get stuck. Always get up the ladder or up to that spot, the platform, and go from there. Because you can always jump down. You can't jump up. So the likelihood of you getting stuck is just so much smaller. And this path, I would only I failed it there. I only ever do that if I feel like I have space, because again, otherwise you have to use your ulti to get up the ladder, and then you might not have it if you need it. So it's a bit of a risky shortcut to take. It's not necessary. Fucking loot rat!
No more running for you, sack that.
And so here we are at the last area. Now there are a lot of items here often. Some of them are pretty well hidden. So if you are low, make sure you do check a couple of spots out by the sides. But really, where you want to get to is you want to make sure you have your ulti when you get up here. Whoops. And I forgot that when I was playing this, I put on double bus spawns. Now, again, this spot only works with the movement ability through air. And you definitely want to keep your guard up while here. Like, ranged stuff can hit you. Tornadoes don't go up here, so you're safe from those, assuming you're not too close to the edge. You can melee most bosses here, but if you're using daggers, a troll is gonna be tricky, which you'll see in a bit. Also, fucking archers. Sometimes I literally forget they exist. It's like, what is that? What was? Oh yeah, they're fucking archers. So, but you can play around with different positionings up here to get the bosses to different spots. If at all possible, you want to have a location where you can either just melee it to death or headshot. A headshot is the fastest, assuming that you're capable of consistently headshotting it. That is what deals the most damage. But obviously also requires that you aim. As you can see, top left, it is like if that was a troll fight and I had spear, I would still be able to melee it comfortably from up here while it was had fallen down. But obviously you can't do that with daggers here. You simply don't have the range. Again, make sure you listen for specials here, because you're not at all safe from specials. Also another option, you can see top left. You can also jump over there. Be careful, because you can fall down, obviously. But it gives you a different, and perhaps like you have a bit more oversight there. You don't have as much wiggle room in terms of potential globadiers hitting you, but the meleeing is easier to just headshot from up there. So again, you do have some options to play around with, and honestly, and often, like in this scenario, I'll jump down on purpose at some point. Simply, you want to take the edge off the game. You don't want to have it easy, but you want to set up a scenario in which you don't feel completely 100% overwhelmed. And also for this area, the de-aggro thing I did earlier, where I de-aggroed a bunch of elites, it is possible to do that here with a combat as well in the confined area, although more difficult, and you're gonna have less room to breathe at the end. But see, if you can here, you can actually get an angle on the troll for continuous headshots, but as you can see, I fucked it up. Which means I'm gonna have to jump down and fight it now. Now I eventually got bored and decided to jump down. Look for some ammunition. And it was really, like, it was tactically really stupid that I wasn't careful with my ammo. Because if you're really careful, you don't have to use ammo. If you make sure you headshot everything from up there. That's obviously easier said than done sometimes, if you don't want to spend 8 seconds aiming each shot. Also, that spot up there, really useful. And again, make sure that you don't get stuck. Move around in a pattern where you always have a place to go, until you're in the right spot at the right time and have your ulti available. Again, if I was in a pressured situation here, often moving back, just letting the minions come to you, so that you can get further to the other side of the horde with your ulti. If you panic too much with your ulti, you'll end up in a very bad spot, where if you have a bit of patience and just move backwards, the minions will densen up, like there will be more of them, and you'll get further through them and have more room to breathe on the opposite side when you use your ulti. And it's a really good technique, just move backwards, get your ulti, hit a couple of things, and then you try to move to the other side of the horde and take out whatever is in the back there. Again, that was a terrible ulti, so now my only priority is to get out safe. I don't bother trying to kill anything. It does require a bit of patience. And again, it seems like it's gonna take forever to kill all these things, right? But it's really not. Like, it seems that way for the first half of the fight, and then the second half, you're not overwhelmed anymore, and it's so much easier. And whatever you do, don't do this. I don't know what I was doing. Again, once you're at this HP, you really want to be careful, really want to think twice about whether or not you're going to take that hit. And always, if you find a med kit, ulti and start healing up. And take it to the end, because you are gonna get it to the end if you activate it right after your ulti. And again, really, unless you get an assassin or a strangler, you're not really in danger as long as you take your time. So again, here the key is patience and just consistently moving around, being careful at first, and just take them out bit by bit. And obviously watch out for vomit. It is literally the most frustrating thing in the world. Sometimes just die with full HP just because you got hit by a long distance vomit. Again, don't try to force the kill. Take your time. Make sure you're in a comfortable spot when you take the shot. Just dodging a leech in itself is not hard. So wait for the right time where you know you got it, where you have a clear view and you're not gonna get hit a second later. Can do sometimes actually, if you have a leech annoying you like that, you can just use an ulti away from the horde and then equip your bow. That should give the leech time to actually aggro you, teleport to you, and you take the shot clear of minions. But I think you get the point, so we're gonna go back to boring fast mode here and just speed it up a bit. fucking die already. Oh well. But well, once you're clear of the last boss wall, again, just a straight line run to the end. Always check for a potion over here. They're quite often there. Personally, I prefer to go left here. I feel like I have better view of potential specials coming at you. And again, if you can't, like this staircase can be a bit dangerous. Depends on the situation, the concentration of minion spawns here. Also look out for a potential pod on the left here. Also quite often there. Now again, I only did that. I only went for the pod because it was a concentration pod. If that had been anything else, I would not have gone out of my way to do that. Way too risky positioning to get stuck in. So you want to make sure you have the room to do it, otherwise don't. And again, make sure you have that last ulti ready here. Start on the left. And actually, I think I'm going to show you a little something different here. That I don't usually do it, but literally my mind was blown when I found out you could do it. Like some of you might already know this, but I think I've played 2,000 hours before I fucking realized that you can walk up on these fucking chains, and you can go all the way up. And I'm like, what? Like, I did not see that coming. I don't know why. Like, am I the only one whose mind was blown by this? Like you can even, if you're careful, I don't know if it's a good idea to do, but you can actually, if you're very careful, switch side and go down the other chain. So I don't know how useful it is, but it's definitely a good way to troll your teammates in quick play, which you should obviously always do. It's especially funny if they then destroy the chains after you go up there, so now you have no way to get down. Trust me, it's fucking hilarious. But with that said, guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna leave you with this little outro. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video for either Against the Grain or Into the Nest.